Eventide is an asset manager with multiple portfolios but a consistent philosophy throughout its platform: to invest with the intention of applying capital to its highest and best use, investing in companies that create value for society, resulting in healthy returns for investors. Eventide calls this investing that makes the world rejoice. I'm Andrew Wilson, and I'm in Davos to talk to the Eventide team. Robin, Shaun, thanks very much for joining us. First of all, then, Eventide talks about investing that makes the world rejoice. Tell me a bit about that.
Thank you, Andrew. The Bible says, when the righteous prosper, the city rejoices, but when the wicked prosper, the people groan. Why is that? It's because the righteous are people that prosper by taking care of their communities. But the wicked are people that often prosper through exploitation. At Eventide, we want to partner with the companies that we believe are creating compelling value and uplifting their communities.
So you're a faith-based organization. Is there a political side to that, or a change-oriented side to that? I mean, tell me a bit about your investing priorities.
The founders of Eventide started with a faith motivation. We wanted to pursue the love your neighbor principle and apply that to investing. But our employee base and our investor base is very diverse. We all coalesce around a common purpose and a common values. We believe that there is intrinsic value in every life, every human life. So at Eventide, all of our values kind of are derived out of this common purpose, which is Eventide strives to honor God and serve its clients by investing in companies that create compelling value for the global common good.
Now, in the wider market, investment managers are always making decisions. There's a phrase used often now, negative screening or screening in general, but you guys believe in positive screening, is that right?
That's right. Now, whenever we're talking about the terminology screening, we're simply asking what kind of companies do I not want to invest in, and what kind of companies do I want to invest in? So at Eventide, it's important for us to take a step back. So there was a philosopher writing in the 1980s, his name was Alistair McIntyre, and he was writing on virtue ethics. And he had this to say. He said, before I ask the question, what am I to do? I must ask the prior question of what story or stories do I find myself a part? So we start by asking, what is the story of business and what is the story of investing? So if you look back, let's say over the last 200 years, we've had a lot of important human needs arise that then businesses have stepped up to meet. So anything from transportation or telecommunications, even energy. And you have companies kind of stepping up and saying, we are here and we will meet these important human needs. Now, furthermore, you have investors, and we've created these remarkable systems, the financial markets, to where investors are able to take dormant capital that they're not using and infuse it into businesses. And then those businesses are able to create value for their customers, their employees, their suppliers, their host communities, the environment, society more broadly. They're creating value. They're not just extracting value and redistributing it. They're creating value. And then they create a return that they're able to send back to their investors. That's a remarkable story of investing in business. So we start there whenever we're talking about screening and what kind of companies do I want to own. We start with that story. What kind of companies are creating value?
It strikes me as something that's moved away from the historic passive model. Investors now being able to see themselves as individual instruments of change.
Yeah, we believe that investors have a huge opportunity and a responsibility to be leaders and to lead towards change. At Eventide, we are able to aggregate lots of capital and then use that capital and the power of investing to bring about human positive change in the world. And two current initiatives at Eventide where we seek to do that is, one is to promote the eradication of slave labor within the solar supply chain in Western China. And so at Eventide, we started reaching out to our own portfolio companies, asking them to really care about this issue and to divest or to pursue change within their supply chains. We also started reaching out to other asset managers and with groups within the socially responsible investing space to really promote more ethical processes within the supply chain. Another major initiative at Eventide currently is something that we call the healthcare initiative. About a third of all of Eventide's investments are in biotech. And so one of the things that we really care about is that the drugs and therapeutics that we're investing in is priced fairly, but that there's also equitable and fair access to these products. We want to see holistic change. As investors, we could use the capital that we manage to drive towards the change that we want to see.
Stepping back a bit, what are the three dimensions that underpin your investment strategy?
Yeah, so to make it simple, and I spoke to this earlier, of different ways to approach investing. So you ask the question whenever you've already decided what kind of companies do I want to own. You say, well, what kind of companies then would I want to avoid? What kind of companies do I not feel like are creating value for society? So avoid. The second dimension being embrace. What kind of companies do I want to own? What are the best and brightest, most innovative companies that are actually addressing important human needs? Those are the types of companies you want to embrace, have them as a part of your portfolio. Then the third dimension is engage. And this is what Robin was speaking to with saying, hey, if you're invested in a certain area or with a certain company, you're an owner in that company. And with that ownership comes a certain amount of power. And you say, well, how do I use this power to actually bring about the change that I'm wanting to see?
So that's the strategy. What about the ethos that binds Eventide together as an organization? How does that work?
So we have certain values at Eventide that we seek to embody, and this is everything from the leadership team to every one of the employees. One of those important values is this value of family spirit, and you can feel that as part of the organization. It's essential to running a very effective organization, because whenever you feel like you're bonded to your colleagues by a central purpose, it gives you the ability to disagree and challenge because you're all working towards the same thing. So the disagreement and challenge comes from a place of love, just like you would love your parents or your siblings, the sense of family spirit. That's the ethos at Eventide.
This idea of values-based investment, it's something we're hearing more and more. I mean, do you still see yourself as a niche idea, a niche organization, or do you think you're actually part of a new mainstream?
So I would say values-based investing in general, where people are saying, I live out my values in every other area of my life. What kind of spouse I strive to be, what kind of relationships I have, how I conduct myself at work. And they're just figuring out there is one more area then that I can infuse my values in. Investing no longer has to be separate from that. I would say it's not a brand new idea, it's just a more comprehensive and fuller view of what investing is, and then how in values, if you're wanting to live a life of integrity, should impact the way that you invest.
So one of the values at Eventide, we have three corporate values: excellence, integrity, and family spirit. Integrity, what I often tell our team is that we cannot take a client where we haven't gone ourselves. So we should all, every single person listening today, should be asking questions about their own personal values. I think it's easy to try to bring about a standardization to values, but each person would have their own values. So what we would encourage is that they ask questions, deep questions about their own values first.
So very briefly then, what's your vision going down the line for the future, for your type of investing?
Yes, I would love for every single person in America as well as the entire world to really know that business has the power to change the world and investing has the power to change the world. So they should be asking themselves, not just as passive investors, but actively, what are the changes I want to see in the world? And how can my capital drive towards those changes?
Shaun?
So looking back and saying how capital has been allocated throughout history has had such an impact on how culture is formed, how societies react. And saying since capital allocation has now been democratized, where each one of us have dormant capital that we're putting to active use in businesses, to see that power and that responsibility that we have to actually bring about powerful change in the world, to feel that responsibility is empowering people. And I would say that the vision for the future is for people to take up that responsibility and then feel it out in the way that they invest.
Shaun, Robin, thanks very much indeed.
Great, thanks Andrew.
Thank you.